Tonight's episode, The Endangered Species.
I almost got everything. There. Okay. All right, so I guess I can just do this. Find out if the audio is working. All right, so I guess I can. All right, sounds like the audio is working. So nobody showed up to decide what we're going to go do first. So we'll see if anybody shows up now that it's live. I'm going to first go to the description of this video and open up the comment period for the changes to her firearm, definition of a firearm. And then I'm going to open up the comment period for the ATF factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces. Two concurrent ATF comment periods that are happening right now. And right now the video is starting with the numbers from last week. So I'm going to edit the video and compare the numbers now, currently, with the numbers from last week. I don't know if they're going to be different or not. So I have to get the screen size a little more consistent here. All right. So it looks like we've got different numbers. So it looks like they have updated numbers. It is only 6 a.m. in Arizona, but that makes it 9 a.m. back east, so in metric time zones. So I think that means that they must be already on the job. I think they had yesterday off. All right, so we're going to go to the redefinition of firearms. According to their website, they had 81,507 comments received. And last week, when we checked this out, the end of last week, it was at 80,876. So really, it hasn't changed, but not much, like 900. Like not very many more have been added. Now, the number of comments approved is at 79,170. So they've gone up only about 379. 70, something like 300 comments more have been approved. So that's interesting. So next we're going to go over to the braces, and they're at 112,014. Last week when we checked it, it was at 111,002. So it looks like it's just about 800 different. So came in over the weekend, and it was at 74,730 approved comments, and now it's at 76,740. So basically 2,000 more. 76,740. All right, so I might be the only one out there that's kind of interested, paying attention to the rate, or the, I guess it's the rate of how those things are incoming, and it's definitely different than the one happened in December. All right, so do I need the comment? I don't need the window. I don't need the video open anymore. So now the video is updated, and one of the reasons I do this is because I just want to keep track of how many comments have been coming in at what rate, since there's no way to track that from the website other than to maybe count every comment, if that's a thing. So we're going to close out this video window. I don't think we need it at all. And if there are live people out there, it says, I got a robot narc right here, and it tells me that you got 7 entities are out there. Now, does it tell me that those are mammals? No. So it could be fish watching this for all I know. Fish or insects. It could even be robots. But nobody's decided for us, like the government would, which we're going to read. So by default, guess what I'm going to go to? The redefinition of firearms. I think that's the more important one and the one I'm more interested. What does this say? View more documents. What's all that about? New document created by Hinchman DOJ, Robert ATF. Posted June 6th. Manimal? Oh no, mammal here? Right on. Wait a minute. I don't know if anybody has verified that, Travis, or not. You're one of the collective, so some of us remember. this is the actual 30-something page proposed ruling. This is their supporting material. I guess this is more supporting material that was posted in June. I'm going to click on it. Oh, there's no documents for download. Thank you, jerks. So what's that all about? All right, well, so I'm going to go back to the comments. Nope, I'm going to go back, way back to the comments tab, and then now there's Ozzy out there, 2 people. I don't know if Ozzy was around to see, but I filmed a video, which you haven't seen because I haven't posted it yet. But we did a video on, what day would that have been? Independence Day, I think. And then on Independence Day, we did this video that regular people probably can't see. Well, I can't even see it. Anyway, in the end of that video, we gave away a thing, and Ozzy's the one that won it. So we got something coming. You got something coming to you. Another person, perhaps. So again, there's 3 humans out there that claim to be mammals, and no one has decided for us which ones we're going to read. So I'm going to continue on reading the redefinition of receivers. The race one seems to be doing just fine, even though they're both stagnant. They both leveled off as far as any kind of new comments coming in. The pistol one has more comments. They came in more quickly, and it's still getting more comments, even though it's ridiculously slow rate of new comments coming in. We have 44 more days left on the redefinition of firearms. It started back in May. It seems like a long time, but there's only, whatever we just said, 81,000 comments submitted so far. And that's not very many for the consequences of it. So we're going to go to the comments tab of the regulations.gov. I'm going to sort the comments by newest to oldest. So it's showing us the most recently approved comments. We've got 78,940, 78,948, and then it goes to 78,981. So like normal, they're not in any kind of sequential order. I'm going to pop the pistol brace things to a new window so I can separate them. And I'm going to open up these comments in a new tab. So I right click and click open in a new tab, and then new tabs open across the top of the screen here. And I like to open up these like the first couple in order. I'm not going to go to the whole front page today. I'll just do a bunch. And then potentially, depending on how it goes and what kind of interactivity we get. Okay, you did see it? Cool. Thanks again for helping in our battle of taxes and bills. We're in the middle of a battle in taxes and bills, so we have to appreciate the people that are helping us to fight that. All right, so I'm going to open up a bunch, and again, depending on what kind of feedback we get during the live part of this, we'll maybe jump over to the pistol ones. So this would be the most recent ones, most recent comments for the redefinition firearms receivers, and I probably won't comment because most people don't say anything about, or most people watch the ones with less comments. All right, so the comment number is 78940. I oppose my right to machine guns if I so choose. Privately made firearms are not a problem. Your data is insignificant. Spend our funds on gun education, responsibility in schools. So that one is interesting. I'm trying not to comment, I guess, so I won't. Next one is 78948. I support this rule on so-called ghost guns that has been proposed by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, ATF, and urge ATF to finalize the rule as proposed and treat ghost guns the same as other guns. Ghost guns are do-it-yourself firearms that can be acquired without a background check and lack serial numbers, so they cannot be traced by law enforcement. By selling these key components of firearms as intentionally unfinished rather than fully assembled firearms, ghost gun companies manage to skirt federal gun laws. Buyers who aren't required to pass background checks can quickly and easily convert these unfinished parts into fully functional firearms using common household tools. As a result, nothing is stopping a person who is prohibited from possessing a firearm from making a ghost gun. Ghost guns are frequently moved by traffickers because they are easier to obtain and harder to traffic or track than traditional firearms, leading to more and more ghost guns being traded in the black market. And used in criminal activity. Ghost guns have been used to shoot police officers, commit mass shootings, and murder children. And extremist groups, murder children and extremist groups. Just murder children and extremist groups are increasingly arming themselves with these dangerous weapons. ATF's proposed rule would change the definition of firearm to include components that are intentionally left unfinished. As a result, these parts could only be sold after a background check and would have to be serialized. This would help stop the flow of these dangerous, untraceable weapons to people legally prohibited from possessing guns. This is common sense solution to a critically important problem. I wholly support this rule and urge its immediate adoption. This person cares so much more than you people. I can't even believe it. If you're watching this, you can't care as much as this guy. Lady, sorry, this is obviously a female. Sexists. So I'm going to put this here and not comment on it and then put it over here. And then one day we'll actually follow through and do a video where we chat about some of these people who care so much more than us and that aren't obsessed with violence like you people. Wow, that one got me all riled up. So next up is 78981, RE-ATF 2021 R-05. Since the founding of the Republic, you know how this one's going to go. Americans have made firearms at home. Oh, that's one sentence, sorry. Since the founding of the Republic, Americans have made firearms at home. In the 21st century, steel and wood had given way to aluminum and plastic. This is a boilerplate. I guess I'll keep reading it, but I'm getting sick of reading boilerplates. This new rule by the ATF attempts to regulate the making of firearms by private persons who are not FFL holders and to regulate those guns which are made within a private residence for personal use. The Gun Control Act's central premise has been based on Congress's authority to regulate interstate commerce. A private party making a firearm for their own use has never been subject to regulation. This proposed rule is a radical and unneeded departure from this historical precedent. To underscore this point, page 36 of the proposed rule even says, clarifying this issue is needed to deter the increased sale or distribution of unlicensed and unregulated, partially complete or unassembled frames or receivers often sold with parts kits that readily be completed or assembled to a functional state. The definitions being proposed in this rule are unlawful because Congress has not taken any action to regulate home-built firearms, firearms braces, or the records that must be kept by licensed dealers. This proposal reeks of agency overreach. Oh, you know what I did wrong is I didn't make this big for you people to be able to read. Even though the proposed rule lists several firearms by name that had not been invented when most of the current laws and rules were enacted, there is nothing to prevent an inventor from inventing and selling a new type of firearm, frame, or even a slide after the proposed rule takes effect, which would make at least part of these new rules obsolete. It is the job of Congress to write laws and federal agencies to enforce them. This proposed rule appears as illegitimate lawmaking because it states that it is in some way the response to a manner in which courts have make lawmaking because it states that it is in some way in response to the manner in which courts have ruled on the AR-15 type firearm receiver. If a change is needed in the law, then it is properly the job of Congress to change the law, not the job of a regulatory agency. For these reasons, I am respectfully requesting that you do not enact these rules. So that's a boilerplate. I don't see it too often, but we read it again. All right, next up, I gotta drink some coffee. Hey, look what I can do now. While I drink, I'm gonna go over here and drink coffee on my own time and watch what I can do now. All right, well, it's not anywhere near long enough, but I can put a little commercial for G23 in the middle there. All right, so next up is 78985. The ATF is a federal bureaucracy that is not voted in or answers to the citizenry. Thus, this proposed rule or any law that is not made by Congress is a direct violation of the Constitution. This 2A, V2A is an inalienable right that government cannot take away, since this is a natural right. I strongly oppose any ATF creed, since only law-abiding citizens will be affected. Criminals will not care. It is time you bureaucrats realize this. The power comes from the people, not the bureaucracy that is violating our constitutional rights. I'm trying not to comment, so we'll keep going. Another boilerplate one that doesn't look edited at all, just boilerplate. And when I say boilerplate, I'll mention if it's the like anti-individual rights or pro-giant state jackboot type. Most of the ones that are boilerplate are pro-individual freedom. So the next one is 78996. Hello there. I am a worried Second Amendment holder, and I believe that we the people, American citizens, have the right to bear our arms. I believe that your laws are hurting us law-abiding citizens more than the real problem out there. I believe that my family protection comes first, and I will protect them with all cost. They will protect me with all cause. Just take a look at your laws. Criminals don't follow orders or laws. We do, and you know it. Why disarm your fellow American from protect themselves and their family? More innocent lives will be lost if all these laws are approved. No more of purest of happiness, no more life and liberty, and absolutely no more freedom to us and the innocent individuals that lost their lives because of faultless laws. Thank you. So I think English second language here, but man, that gets the point across 100%. That's some of my favorite ones are like that. Next up is 78963, which is boilerplate. I don't know. I don't remember whose boilerplate it is. I don't think it's gone over to America. It's somebody else's boilerplate, but there's a paragraph in front of the boilerplate, so I'll read that. I have a few issues with the ATF's attempt to get rid of ghost guns. They are being eerily vague with the details. There is not much clarification between parts assembly and manufacture. It's as if the person writing the bill doesn't actually know much about guns. They don't address the fact that criminals can make guns with all their proposed regulations. They don't address that we have been able to make guns forever with no issues. And they don't give any real numbers about crime or how this will help it. This is just a violation of our rights. We don't need more laws we need better efforts towards laws we have. And not to mention that Congress hasn't made an attempt to stop homemade firearms, so why is the ATF helping themselves to make this decision that isn't theirs to make anyway? And then it's the boilerplate. I personally would have left it without the boilerplate, but I'm not commenting. Next up is comment number 78967. It's the same one, well, the same boilerplate with a different person. Now there's a different paragraph in front, so I'll read just the paragraph. I am strong Second Amendment supporter and expect you to follow the U.S. Constitution as it was written. Your rule is unlawful and has no objective or reasonable reason other than to take away my right provided to me in the Constitution. A well-regulated militia be a necessary security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So they wrote the Second Amendment in there and then a sentence or two. I'll not comment and keep going. Next up is 78984. Building your own firearms is an American tradition, and trying to take that away is a massive infringement. The laws should focus on going after actual criminals and not good American people looking to defend their families and themselves. Trying to limit this ability lifts the veil and exposes the tyranny from our own government who works for us and not the other way around. I will never support any law or bill that limits Americans' right to keep and bear arms. I'm not commenting, but that's what I would comment on. Next up is 79044. Once again, normal law-abiding citizens are under attack from the ATF. We are constantly having to watch our backs because of appointed, not elected, officials seek to constantly change the rules and turn millions of legal gun owners into criminals for absolutely no reason. Endlessly shaving to jump through the hoops and keep up with what parts are okay and what isn't is ridiculous. I don't know what that means, but I get the email, I get that one, and I'm not commenting, but it's good. Next up is 79002. Big nope. The ATF has no tangible right to regulate firearms any further than it already does. It grossly overestimates its right to regulate in any existing capacity, but it grossly overestimates its right to regulate in any existing capacity. But this is unacceptable infringement of my innate rights to own, modify, build, etc. a firearm without government meddling. These rights are protected simply and succinctly by the Second Amendment, and the ATF and DOJ need to immediately dismantle the ATF as it is a blight on the United States government, as most government agencies are. Enough is enough. It's going to be a tough pill for them to swallow to hear that one. I'm going to keep not commenting. So next is 79015. Greetings. I would like to take a moment to comment on the proposed rule to change firearms identification numbers. Current law requires the receiver to be the registered component as it contains other parts required to have a functional firearm. The idea of having other or multiple components also registers only leads to the creation of a registry by default. Current registration requirements do a good job of identifying firearms owned by law-abiding gun owners. The primary issue with gun violence in this country is use by criminals, and this issue can't be debated. Law enforcement and primarily the judicial system fail to enforce current law. The creation of new laws or administrative policy such as this does nothing to curb gun violence, respectfully. All right, the next one, ooh, wow. The next one is not short, it is very long. So it's 79018. We'll watch another commercial and I'm gonna drink some coffee before I dig into this one. Dang it, I need to make that thing about 3 times longer. All right. So this is comment 79018. In regards to proposed regulation change of ATF 2021-0001, it seems to me that all of this redefining of definition is completely unnecessary because of the sale of personally made firearms is already illegal, especially as it relates to this section. Not only does the inability to distinguish between unmarked firearms, start printed page 2, what? Okay, so this guy copied and pasted something perhaps? Because it says out of nowhere, start printed page 27725. So we got a weird glitch in there. So I'll read again without the glitch. Not only does the ability to distinguish between marked and unmarked firearms make it extremely difficult for law enforcement to trace personally made firearms involved in a crime. It also makes it more difficult for federal, state, and local law enforcement to identify and prosecute illegal firearms traffickers who are often tied to violent criminals and armed narcotics traffickers. The ATF Form 4473 is the primary evidence used to prosecute straw purchasers who buy firearms from an FFL on behalf of the prohibited persons, such as felons and other persons who could use them to commit a violent crime. The form is typically the key evidence that the straw purchaser who bought the firearm and can pass a background check made a false statement to the FFL concerning the identity of the actual purchaser when acquiring that firearm, which is in violation of U.S. some codes and state law. But it's an unmarked and difficult to trace personally made firearms proliferate throughout the marketplace. It is likely to become increasingly difficult to prove that firearms acquired under false pretenses on a Form 4473 were the ones found in the hands of the true purchaser, and thus more difficult to prosecute straw purchasers for making false statements. This assumes, of course, that personally made firearms involved in crime could even be traced to an FFL, or that the correct 4473 could be located. Likewise, the absence of identifying firearms information on multiple sales forms and theft loss reports makes it more difficult for ATF to identify firearms traffickers and thieves. Of course, a personally made firearm would be difficult to trace. Isn't that the point? The ATF and other federal agencies shouldn't be cataloging the personal firearms of Americans and regulating their ownership and use of them. That was never the intent of Congress. It might be the intent of some people in Congress now, people who don't agree with the Second Amendment, but it certainly wasn't at the time the legislation was passed. By the way the Second Amendment reads, and certainly the intent of the framers of the Declaration of Independence, strictly forbids the government from regulating arms, as we use the word today, and any agencies of government cannot have regulation of arms in their purview. The biggest point I would like to make here is murder. Attempted or otherwise is already one of the most serious crimes there is, and anyone who would do that belongs in prison or worse, no matter what weapon or tool they use. People that are intent on killing people don't care about any laws or regulations, and no rules or laws will change that. The average citizens have no intention to hurt anyone, and putting limits on their ability to defend themselves from criminals in any way doesn't help law enforcement, and it doesn't stop or even impede criminals from committing criminal acts. The intent of the framers of the Declaration was to protect the God-given rights of the people to defend freedom from any who would try to take it from them, and every law enforcement officer swears an oath to support and defend it. And I hate to see an agency that is long down the path of infringing on the rights of American citizens take it this much further. If the definition were to change, it would create a bigger problem, as many firearms would become more than one firearm. I oppose this proposed rule change, and I urge the agency to remove it from consideration. Well, I'm not commenting, but you can comment if you want. Oh, look what happened. This dude did comment, and I may agree, but I'm not commenting. So next up is 79048. From the time prior to the founding of this nation and until now, the individual has always been allowed to create firearms, as well as other arms, for their own use and enjoyment. The proposed ruling is a slap in the face to the American citizen, and I am truly appalled at this agency's willful disregard for the intent and purpose of the Second Amendment. This proposed ruling should be removed, and nothing of the sort should ever be proposed again. All right, so that's the end of the ones from the receiver thing, but there are allegedly, according to the robot narc over here, 12 humans watching this. So if you want, we'll go ahead and read some pistol ones, or if anybody wants to comment. I'm not commenting, but you're able to comment. Here's the thing. I'm going to comment on this one because it's the last one anyway. From the time prior until now, the individual has always been allowed to create firearms as well as other arms for their own personal use and enjoyment. Here, if that was true, then how come there aren't robots from the olden days? There aren't even any robots in black and white photographs, which leads me to believe that they were illegal until maybe the middle of the 1970s, when you start to see color photographs of robots. So I kind of agree with this one, but then I kind of don't agree. All right, so next up, it would be some pistol brace ones. If no one's going to object, we'll read just a few of these because pistol braces are not as important as the redefinition of firearms. This one's a gimme. Maybe we can let the government have this one. Maybe we could compromise this one away, let's say. Let's just say you can have pistol braces if you leave our AR-15s alone. How about that? All right, so this will be going over to the comment tab of the factoring criteria for firearms with attached stabilizing braces, flipping the sort from newest to oldest, so we're looking at the most recent, and I'll start clicking on each one, right-clicking and opening in a new tab, and this will give us, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 of the pistol brace ones. So we had, of the 10 or 15 comments on the redefinition of firearms that we just got done reading for the first half an hour-ish of this live chat, we only had one anti-individual freedom, pro-big state, jackboot fascist comment. All the rest of them were pro-individual freedom and awesome. So that's interesting, considering how many of them are being posted and how many of them are being approved after being posted. All right, so this would be the most recent of the pistol brace comments comment number 75795. It is not the right of the government to control or limit the abilities of a law-abiding United States citizen. The ownership of stock braces and or sound suppressors should be allowed and in fact encouraged in many instances. I'm not going to comment, but if you want to comment, that's what keyboards and little thin glass screens are for. Next up is comment 75826. As a law-abiding citizen, I find it sickening that my rights are constantly being challenged. The newly proposed ATF 2021 R-08 is yet another stab at my constitutional rights. It is blatantly confusing and remarkably open to interpretation. You expect me to use a point system to tell me if I'm breaking the law? I could expect this from a politician, but not from an organization who is supposedly educated, quote unquote, on firearms. The ATF's mission statement claims its main goal is to protect communities from violent criminals. How does making guns less comfortable make my community any safer? Is the goal to make people less accurate with their firearms? How are a large portion of gun-related crimes being committed with weapons with stabilizing braces? I don't understand why the ATF is being bullied by politicians that can't even define what an assault rifle is. I believe in no way will regulating stabilizing braces or this new point system make our community safer. All it is going to do is confuse legal gun owners and make it too expensive for law-abiding citizens to own a rifle that they are comfortable with. All right, so we got one here. Every ghost gun should have a serial number on it. That way, when the gun found was used in a crime, they can return it to the owner it was stolen from. Yeah, well, I hear what you're trying to say there, but the thing is, crime guns don't get left behind. I guess that happens in movies or something, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. So next up is 75767. Why don't y'all stop the madness and stop trying to pass dumb laws that don't stop crime? Everything you're trying to do, infringement on our Second Amendment rights. The stabilizer brace helps those who are injured or have a hard time using their firearms still be able to shoot their firearm in times of need. Please stop trying to turn law-abiding citizens into criminals by making up nonsense gun laws and stop trying to tax us to push your agendas that have nothing to do to stop crime. To me, any and every law y'all come up with is an infringement on law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights, and it is not right. We are not blinded by y'all trying to totally disrespect and disregard our rights to bear arms and take our rights away to bear arms. As a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, I urge y'all throw this bill out. Yeah, I like that one. And he says she says law-abiding, tax-paying citizen. Next up is 75777. Oh, this one's boilerplate also. Ugh. All right, I'm not going to read it. No, I'm not going to read it. I don't even like this boilerplate. I thought it was a different boilerplate. I don't like this one, so I'm not reading it. Next up is it's a boilerplate that's pro, but I'm not reading it. 75762. Oh, look at this one has 762 in it, so it's got to be good. This is an overreach by the government, and in order to regulate. It is an overreach by the government in order to regulate law-abiding citizens. The criteria laid out in this proposal shows the misguided and negligent understanding by the government and ATF under a progressive administration. Almost all of the criteria laid out in the form is open to interpretation and could result in a score of 0 or 12 depending on these interpretations. This bill would turn tens of millions of law-abiding gun owners in the United States into criminals overnight. This proposal has no place in the United States and needs to be revoked immediately, as it is a direct violation of the rights of the citizens. I like it. I'm not commenting though. Next up is 75831, which is the same one as before. Boilerplate. This part's interesting though. In the boilerplate, we've seen it twice now, there's this sentence in the boilerplate where it goes, when President Biden was asked whether he was coming for our guns, he said, bingo. Why not use that? I think that's interesting. I'm not commenting, I'm just asking the question. Why not use a quote from the administration? Maybe that's the question. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Anyway, here we get to another boilerplate, which is the exact same boilerplate. All right, so, or pretty close to the same boilerplate. Next up, we have the same boilerplate. This time it has a paragraph in front of it. So it's interesting to see now that we've got so many boilerplates in the first bunch. I mean, we're only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of them have been the same boilerplate, 4 or 5 even have been the same boilerplate. This one at least has a paragraph in front of it, so I'll read that part. 75779. At the stroke of a bureaucrat's pen, the ATF seeks to turn me into a criminal simply for the crime of purchasing legal items they so approved of. This reeks of political pandering and partisan agenda and will make me a felon. There is absolutely no way this is remotely constitutional, will fail to accomplish any good for law-abiding Americans, and will serve only to further divide and alienate members of our great society. Please do not move forward with this rule. And then it goes on with quite a few paragraphs of boilerplate. It was a pretty good first paragraph. So this one is 75818. Oh, snap, dude. Dude, no, it shouldn't cost anything on eBay. Just go there, and when you buy them, it shouldn't cost nothing, dude. And then eBay will let me ship them to you. So just try buying, because I've sent them stuff to Europe before. But I appreciate the, whatever it is, $2 metric. I can't even imagine how you people have to deal with money over there. It must be maddening. But now I got metric money, so thanks. That's the first time I've got European money that I can remember. It might be the first European money super chat ever. So I appreciate it. Next time I travel to Europe, I don't know what I'm gonna do with $2. You buy a castle for $2 in Europe? I'm either gonna buy a castle or it's like an old airport. I'll buy like an old airport with a big runway and turn that into a long distance shooting thing or something. Okay, so next up is, and that's thanks to Andrew, who is in the Europe, and he is trying to buy some stuff off of your website store. So I appreciate the effort in trying to do this so that eBay pays for shipping, basically. Okay, so next up is 75818. Why? Who is this change benefiting? This country gives its citizens constitutional rights so we cannot be oppressed by our government, making law-abiding citizens criminals because the ATF decides to change some trivial rule about what attachment we can have on our weapons is unconstitutional. Unless the government is the one buying firearms, is the one buying my firearms, they should have no say on what length my barrel is or whatever I can have, whether I can have a stock or a brace. None of the gun control laws make any difference to criminals. The ones having to pay extra taxes and worry about being prosecuted are regular Americans that need a firearm to protect themselves or their loved ones. I will not comply. God bless America. That's interesting. I don't see I will not comply very often. It takes some balls considering you got to put your name and address and stuff on here. Oh, you're saying if I get an airport, will you let me use it? I don't know, maybe. Depends on what's on board, right? eBay charges through, yeah, exactly. eBay charges buyer. No, I thought that they don't charge the buyer. I thought that they get it for free. I don't know. I'll look at it once we're off here. Sorry, I didn't want to disrupt here. But thanks for the other $2. So now they're battling metric money and real money. Let's see. So you know what? I don't think I need to have me in here, right? I can do this, and I'm still talking. So this is another. This is another boilerplate. Sad to see so many boilerplates. Here's the thing about boilerplates, though. What if you're like busy or like you can't write good? Or you're not good at this kind of stuff, I guess boilerplates are a way for you to put your X. There ain't nothing wrong with putting an X on there. So next up is 75797. This is another one that's the same exact boilerplate, but they've got a sentence of their own in front of it. That's what I'll read. All your proposed actions will be reversed in 3.5 years anyway. So why waste your time and effort? That's interesting. And to the point, it's a burn. Basically, you could lick your finger and touch the ATF's face because they just got burned in the face. And then this last one is the same boilerplate, which is burned in the face to me because there's so many freaking boilerplates. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go down to page 3 on the stabilizing brace one, and now I'm going to delete all these tabs that I already opened and we read all of them already, well, except for the boilerplates. And I'm going to, just for shits and giggles is what they, back in my days, they would say for shits and giggles. It's morning time, so sorry if you heard the word shits and it hurt your feelings. But just to do it, I'm going to open up a whole bunch of these things, and we're just going to see, just look. We're going to see how many of them are boilerplates. And then we can be pessimistic and optimistic. And what's the word? Another word. Will be all those things. So let's go up to this one, boilerplate. This one, boilerplate. This one, boilerplate. This one, oh, it's not boilerplate. Ding, 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 ding. I'm going to shove it over here. This one, boilerplate. This one, oh, not boilerplate. This one, boilerplate. Boilerplate, boilerplate. Oh, this is boilerplate. Yes. Different boilerplate, but boilerplate. Boilerplate with a sentence in front of it. Oh, not boilerplate. We got 3 that are not boilerplate. I'll just read the sentence real quick. 75989. It is unconstitutional for you to make this quote-unquote law. You are not elected by anyone. How will this prevent gun crimes? Do tell. And then a boilerplate behind it. Another one with a sentence and then boilerplate. 758242. I am appalled by what the ATF is trying to do here. Clear violation of the Constitution and completely anti-American. And then the boilerplate behind it. And then that one that's not boilerplate. That's 5, maybe 4, something like that. And then boilerplate. All right, so we'll close the boilerplates down. So we're sick of the boilerplates. It's a different boilerplate at least, but it has come in before. All right, so this is from page like 3. So this is still fairly current. Oh, come on. So many of these are boilerplate. Somebody saying something over here? Let's see. International import charges, no taxation. Oh. Payback charges. Oh, so they still charge you? I thought that they didn't charge you because I only have to ship it to Tennessee or whatever. Yeah, I thought that I didn't realize that they were charging the people on the other side. I guess other people just paid for that part of it, and I didn't realize. It tells me, I get a bunch of updates and stuff too when it ships that way. Let's see, so I guess I'm reading some of these that weren't boilerplate. This one is 75899. Referencing ATF 2021 R-08 proposed regulation changes. I oppose any changes to be made. This convoluted mess is solely designed to create felons out of law-abiding Americans. It is shameful, and the authors of these regulation changes should be ashamed of themselves. No criminals will be stopped by restricting common Americans from owning these items. The arbitrary nature of the proposed regulation changes are discriminatory and serve no purpose in protecting citizens and guests of this country. These are commonly owned firearms and accessories that are used daily, safely, and without injuries. We will not comply with fanatical overreach from the government. Wow, that one had a whole bunch of interesting points. What's this whole thing about protecting citizens and guests of this country? That's an interesting take. I like that. Never heard that one, I don't think, yet. Next up is they figured out what's against the Kentucky. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for the heads up. I didn't realize that. I'd been telling people it was free. I didn't realize. I guess they they only charge me to ship it to Kentucky, and then they charge you. Hopefully it's a deal. But next up is comment 75871. I feel this new definition made by Merrick Garland, not a law made by the legislative branch, is wrong and illegal. My dog's being weird, sorry. AR pistols and braces have been approved and sold with approval by local and state federal government for close to 10 years now. For example, manufacturers of the SPR brace with a letter in hand of approval from the ATF have been producing their braces for nearly a decade now. And one man without authority or approval from Congress redefining these braces as anything else creates confusions and chaos, such as jobs destroyed and businesses shut down, and an infringement upon an American's right to bear arms. This reminds me of a lesson my father taught as a child, that you can't beat another man at his own game. If this is allowed to happen, what will stop any individual in any agency from redefining any previously written laws they see fit? Will this not also create problems in the court system, such as constitutional legitimacy? I think this will also create an unfair burden on every American's having to choose between paying a tax they may or may not be able to afford, or risk being instantly turned into a felon who otherwise was a law-abiding citizen that legally passed a background check and by the very agency that will now arrest such an individual for possession of such device. Thank you for accepting my comment, James, and then his name is his business. Interesting. So, that sounds good, sorry. Next up is 75939. That's an interesting one. Dear ATF, I want to begin by expressing the well intentions of your institution and the difficult job that is bestowed upon you as an institution to regulate firearms in this country. Nevertheless, as a new U.S. citizen and a colored minority, I am deeply saddened by the continued efforts to disguise gun confiscation and control when it is a given right that is guaranteed by the great Constitution from which this country was born. Guns with braces are not a source of violent crimes in this country, and the link between guns and violent crime is almost non-existent. Fact, about 50 to 60% of gun deaths are suicide. That's Okay, so in fact, preventive uses of firearms in the U.S. save 500,000 to 3 million people. I realize that from a sentiment perspective, any single life lost is a tragedy. However, from a public policy perspective, it is clearly a worse form of policy to take away guns. Also, opinion, it does not even include the lives saved from simply brandishing the firearm and not using it. Fact, no discernible relationship between percentage of gun ownership and gun deaths is in the U.S. by state. And then he's citing these different research papers that these stats come from. If you run a linear regression analysis that churned out a negative slope of negative 1.7, well, usually hinting at a slight relationship of more guns, actually less gun deaths, with an R squared, for which the non-math literate people, it means absolutely no causality relationship. A perfect causality relationship would be R squared of 1, of course, you non-math people. Anyway, U.S. has by far the highest gun ownership in the world, but ranks 60th out of 170 in terms of homicides and rape. If you run that same linear regression between violent crime and gun ownership globally, you get the same story of no discernible correlation with a slope of 0.000. No proven study of increased gun crimes or activity due to introduction of pistol braces or stocks added onto AR and other pistol platforms. By banning the pistol brace firearms from lawful gun owners who cannot afford NFA charges and other regulatory burdens that endanger and hurt firearms owners, such as a gun registry, you are hurting and killing Americans such as myself and not helping on the whole. Unless that is your true intention. I hope you and your brace regulation and the general restrictive approach towards firearms ownership in the U.S. Unless that is your true intention, I hope you end this brace regulation and the general restrictive approach towards firearms ownership in the U.S. I believe that there is good and fairness in all individuals, and I hope you can ignore the politics and the rhetoric and actually look at the statistics behind firearms ownership and safety. If you truly care about American safety, think about the gross constitutional violation you're committing, stop restricting legal firearms ownership, and instead try to foster it. We the people have unalienable rights as detailed by the Bill of Rights. The Second Amendment is one of them. It is what makes this country great. Thank you. That's awesome. So one more. This one is from the pistol brace comments, page 3, one of the boilerplates, number 75931. Changing the designation of pistol will have an adverse effect on handicapped people and the veterans that fought for our freedom to bear arms. They put life and limb on the line to protect our freedom, and redesignating pistol brace will make it much harder for them to enjoy shooting pistols in calibers like 5.56 and 7.62. This ridiculous thought will make hundreds of thousands of freedom-loving Americans felons. All right, so those are good ones. And notice, knocking on wood, nothing bad from the pistol side. A lot of boilerplates, but nothing anti-individual freedom, nothing anti-rights. So I don't know what I read there, maybe 25. I don't think I read even that many, but maybe 20 on the pistol side and 10 something, 15 maybe on the other side. Just guessing off of, we've been going for about an hour now. So I try to run these for about an hour, kind of keep up on how many. Let me zoom back out a little bit. Try to keep track of how many comments are coming in at what pace. Maybe that's a better name, use the word used than rate. Like at what pace they're coming in, and then at what ratio they're being okayed or put in as approved, I guess. So yeah, we've been watching them come in at about 3,000 a day, and they're being approved at about 85% of them are being approved, which is unusually high. There are a lot of them that are boilerplates. This is unprecedented, so we're not sure how they're going. At least I don't think there's anyone who can suggest that we know how the ATF might use the comments. It's certainly not so many comments that we need to be bragging about it. It's actually kind of embarrassingly low compared to the number of people that own firearms and the reach of some of the, just we're here on YouTube, so think of some of the YouTube channels and how big their reach is. But there are blogs that reach millions of people every month. There are magazines, printed periodicals that reach hundreds of thousands, or I don't know how many people they might reach. And this is a 90-day project. So, there's lots of things. There's major news. I don't know how much of this is being brought up on the national syndicated radio shows in previous comment periods when they were brought up in the call-in. You choose the topics, or open line Friday type of things. When the comment periods or what the ATF is contemplating was brought up on those shows, people would let people know. So there's very few, 81,000 on the redefinition of firearms, 112,000 comments. Considering we can comment as many times as we'd like, and we can comment every day if we wanted to, that's just not a huge number. So I wouldn't suggest that we have anything to breathe easy about, since we've got the nomination to oppose as well. There's a lot of challenges here. I don't think this is going to be the end of the world, but we certainly don't want to see these things just go limp. The more limp they lay on the table, I would assume that's going to encourage political strategists to try this shit again, right? So I don't know, we're not getting much more feedback here from the 8 people that are watching us live, or 11, I guess. I don't know. NARC keeps changing its mind. But thanks to Urswell for the $2. Thanks to Andrew for the $2. If I could flip that shipping around, I would. But the thing is, it's shipping a bunch of paper, so it might as well just ship wood, right? When you ship a deck of cards, it's nothing but paper, so it's pretty heavy. But yeah, sorry, that's the one thing that is frustrating, is the international shipping. But if you are able to do them, we'll throw some extra stuff in there. Like I say, you did have the stuff for the battle of taxes and bills. So I'm going to end this live show. We were going for about an hour. We'll do these again. Feel free to leave comments with your comment number, and I can read yours if you want. Or if you see an awesome comment out there that's worth bringing up, let me know, and I'll be sure to read it. There's all kinds of interesting stuff going on, both live and produced out there, that's focused on Second Amendment. I encourage you to check it out. Have a good day and week, and we'll be back to pick you up later.